Hello and welcome. I'm just going to wait for a minute, just for a second. Just going to make sure that I share. Tonight is late night talk, and I've got a guest, and I think you pronounced your name as North, and we're going to talk about men's behaviour tonight. Can't speak on behalf of everyone, but we can only talk on behalf of our own experiences, and well, I look forward to this chat. If anyone's watching, I'm just letting this build up for a minute. I've just got to try and find it. Right, I found it. We have a viewer. Hello. So that's great. Yeah, we're talking about men's behaviour tonight, and I just want to dissect a few things that I've seen. I watched this video, and it's quite disturbing, and I'm on a mission tonight because I feel that watching this video, and a YouTube video it was about relationships, and as a presenter, the presenter belittled a female on that broadcast, and the things that he was saying was very discriminatory and very sexual content, very degrading, I'm going to say. Degrading sexual content. I mean, who says they're going to jerk a woman, huh? So I know it's not funny, really, but the context that are displayed when you're talking and delivering and projecting messages back on in how we should be treating one another. If you're going to host a show, it has to be a neutral aspect of the world. But what I found here is, as a host, it was a one-sided view, and when the panel presenter pulled that individual up about a comment that was made, and the comment that is made, and we're going to discuss that now, the comment was, he should be enough for any other woman. So this woman, any woman that he dates, should not be bringing in any other friends, anybody else, any other man into the equation while he is in a relationship with them. Now, this person surrounds himself with females, and a lot of females only, really. But in my opinion, and it is my opinion, downgraded females, and I don't like that. North, where are you? North.
Here I am.
There you go. We've got North in the background. So it says, why do men have more female friends? Now, about this presenter, I wanted to ask, what I picked up upon was, he said he surrounds himself with female friends. It led me to then think, as he degrades women, and I've heard it so many times, this downgrading of women, it made me think that he may have a problem within his own family. That's just something I thought about, to degrade women like that, where he's had to take control over the family. You always find that alpha male that tries to do that and dominate the family, and I had that in one of my old past relationships, where that alpha male dominated the whole family, including the sisters. Yeah, and it wasn't a pretty sight. Can men and women be platonic?
Is that a question?
Yeah. Can they be platonic?
Platonic friends.
Yep. Can you have male friends? As a woman, can you have male friends if you're in a relationship with another male? Can you have another male friend?
Okay, so speaking openly,
Yeah.
I would probably be one of those people that you'd consider to be quite tomboyish. So I have an interest in cars and sport, for example. So I would find myself going to sports bars and predominantly being around male-dominated environments.
Mm-hmm.
I did engineering at college, and I worked in transport and logistics and refuse collection logistics. Fixing lorries, So those sorts of environments are naturally filled with men, in the office and, in the field. So yes, I would say in regards to work colleagues and people I've met at bars and nightclubs on a night out, they have, and some still are, friends. And what I will add to that is some of them at some point have said that they would like to take the friendship potentially further because they like me as a friend and they can kind of see what I may be like as more than a friend. Just being a nice person and wanting to get to know me that bit more. So now I know their intention isn't just to keep things platonic. I now know that some of my male friends I can get changed in front of, and because they're not attracted to me and they're just a friend, they can kind of go, "I'll put it away." Do you know what I mean? But not, yeah, and they're not like avert their eyes because there's no need to. Like they're just not looking, and they'll just tell me, "No, put it on. Like, what are you doing?" And there are other men that I wouldn't do that in front of because I can't see their intention. So even though they say they're a platonic friend, once they've kind of given me a bit of a strange look, or they've kind of been too sexual in their conversation, so not outside banter, like internal banter, kind of commenting on body parts or just other things between us, that's where I think, a little line can be crossed sometimes, where that banter can be felt to be a little bit uncomfortable, where you might have to say to that male friend, "That's funny, but I don't feel like it's appropriate for our friendship." And then you kind of gauge their intention. So that's my thing. And sorry, just to add that I've recently spoke to a man on the phone who I've known for nearly 2 years. We've met each other a couple of times, no dating. It was a sort of a business transaction how we met originally. And very quite recently, he said to me that he doesn't have any female friends. So I then delved deeper into his comment and had to kind of ask him, "So why have you phoned me?" Because me and you have never planned to meet up on any sort of dating or sexual talk or whatever. He's sometimes phoned me and asked me about girls that he's interested in or relationships that he's had and situations he's been in to try and figure it out. So I'm having a conversation with him on a friendship level, giving advice, talking about himself, me talking a bit about myself. But then for him to come out at the end of, you know, a conversation we've had and go, "Oh, but I don't keep female friends. So what's your intention by speaking to me? Do you think that this is going to potentially lead to more than a conversation?"
What do you feel he said that he doesn't keep female friends?
Because he was upfront and said that most men only befriend females because they want more. They're not seeking a friendship, they're seeking more.
And this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, when you get it, I mean, with this presenter earlier, he was saying that he surrounds himself with females and only females. But if he was with a certain female, he would not want her to go outside of that relationship. He would only want her for himself, really. Um, Making friends, that means basically if you get into a relationship with somebody like that. I mean, I actually have been in a relationship like that in the past, and in the past it's been where I haven't been able to have male friends, and I think there's a big element of jealousy there and insecurity there when uh when they drop bombshells. Who's that? I don't want you speaking to them. And I think at the end of the day there is a huge element of jealousy, and one of which people tend to give up their friendships, um and stay with the person that they've chose to have a relationship with. But that's always going to be based on a condition, and that condition, when it's put out there, is I'm not comfortable with you having friends of the opposite sex. Now, I wonder if this person that you spoke to has had difficulties in the past relationships, with females asserting authority of whether or not they could speak to another female or not. Do you think that plays a part?
Yeah, so again, not to put his business out there in that respect, but there have been occasions where he has highlighted certain situations when he's been in relationships that were beyond his control. Now, it's happened to more than one man, and I'm sure there's going to be people out here who can relate to what it is that I'm about to say. When you are in a relationship or you're dating somebody and you're sleeping with that and having intercourse and you're not using protection, or even if you are using protection and the woman becomes pregnant. Now, because you haven't had a conversation about having a baby together, a lot of men say it's up to the woman to decide what she wants to do,
Mm.
whether to carry on with the pregnancy or not. So a lot of men tread very carefully at this point. But what I have found is that when men have said categorically, I am not ready for children right now, and then the woman still gets pregnant, whether she says she's on the pill, whether the condom came off, whatever the means was, both of them played a part. But he has said, I don't want children right now. And then the woman gets pregnant and she keeps that baby. Or she gets pregnant and doesn't tell the man she's pregnant and disappears with the baby. And then makes a phone call a few months later or a few years later, in some instances, when I've had conversations with my male friends, that this woman can phone and say, you know, this baby's yours and it's now 6 months later, or after the baby's been born 8 years later. Some have been claiming CSA for, do you know what I mean? So there's all sorts of nightmare stories that men have experienced that
Mm-hmm.
then, I assume, can only make an assumption, have contributed to their feelings about how they treat women now. So I wouldn't just say it's like a mother thing, where they've had poor parenting or an unsupportive mother. I think it's also that they've had experiences with women who have now formulated them to batten down their hatches in regards to their love. And now they just kind of get what they want when they want it and then try to move on without getting emotionally tied because they've been broken and they're healing. And rather than say that I'm broken and I feel hurt and that particular woman hurt me, they then kind of treat all women with that same amount of distrust.
It's more of a disrespectful of themselves, a reflection of themselves, if anything. Putting this barrier up. Uh, this show host used that word quite frequently, barrier, and I actually use that word also about barriers quite frequently. But when you drop those barriers and you've been injured throughout life, throughout crappy relationships, it makes it very hard to form new relationships. So then there's the dating game. Now this was about dating people over 50. Is there a difference? Can you be male and female friends, over 50 without that expectation? I think for me, I hate it when you tell someone that you meet, look, I'm with someone, we can only be friends, whatever else. You put it out there straight away. You don't play the guessing game. And well, I tend to anyway, put it out there straight away so there's no mixed messages. You're not putting bait out there, so to speak, so they know where they stand at the beginning. What do you do then um if you make it clear that you only want friends and nothing else but friends, but you've said it and you laid it down the line, but months later on, all of a sudden they've come out and they've said something? What do you do in that sense? I mean, how can it retain that kind of friendship that you thought you might have if they've overcrossed the boundaries with, oh my god, but don't you actually know that I want to be with you, or I like you, or whatever, and you didn't know that, you didn't expect that? What do you do with that information then?
Um, for me, if I've been put in that situation, I'm quite stern. I'll be honest with you. I am stern. I've had to put a lot of stuff on the line, from the beginning, in various stages of my life for varying different reasons, and some of them have been beyond my own control. So therefore, it doesn't matter really what that man thinks or feel in that moment, because this is about me. So admittedly, when someone has crossed that line and I felt slightly violated, um, my vulnerability hackles go up,
Hmm.
because I've now got to the stage where I can't be alone with you. You're not coming to my house. I'm not coming to your house. So that friendship that may have been there prior to you expressing that feeling, I now need to manage the contact and the boundary, because you've made me very much aware how you feel. I'm not going to disrespect your feelings. I'm not going to say your feelings are wrong, but you've given me an option as to whether I want to now partake in those feelings or not. And then it's a level of persistence. So if you've got someone that you've laid that law down with, we've said, now we're just friends, even if you've slept with that man and he comes back and wants to sleep with you again, and you as a woman have changed your mind and said, no, I don't want to sleep with you anymore. I slept with you once, I slept with you twice. I don't want to do it again. Categorically, it is not happening. And if it does happen, it's going to be the horrible thing where it's forceful. So therefore, if that man persists, I have quite a few options. I can block and delete if it's on a device. I can physically remove that person from my environment in certain ways. And like I said, you no longer want to be on a one on one situation with them. You don't really want to agree to meet up with them on a one on one situation, because you don't want to mislead them. You've already said you're friends and we'll meet in a group of people, but I will not meet you on a one on one basis. Even if we go out and we happen to go to the same nightclub, for example, and you ask me for a dance, I would say no, because I already know your intention and I
Mm.
know what dances can lead to in that environment, hot, sweaty, a bit of alcohol. So I would put the boundary very much in place to protect myself.
Mm. And I've been in there's elements that make me cringe. I don't know whether it's because of my past and past relationships with, and I think there's a lot of people that may go through what I'm going through. You meet a person, you give them the benefit of the doubt, you say you know you're going to be end up being friends with them. They have said something, what's the word, derogatively is the word, isn't it? They have said something in a sexual nature. It may cruel, and
Yeah, no,
one of which I instantly get really angry about, because I think men need to learn, and I really feel this, that certain men need to be mature when they need to talk to women, and don't make it a sexual conversation. Now, it's not just men that do this, it's women that do this as well. And I'm actually going to really point this out, particularly those, and I say a lot of women that have personality disorders or borderline personality disorder, those labels, those kind of labels around mental ill health, that's because they've had traumatic experiences, do find it difficult to formulate relationships with people within a community, whether it be an intimate relationship or even friendships. So they end up losing these kind of friendships. Now, I would take, if you're looking at behavior, including my own previous past behavior, I relate sexual talk to um, I want you to just be my friend, but not because I want sex with them. I used to use it as, and I've saw this last year with a particular person that would make sexual um, conversation as a joke. And it's always as banter and it's always a joke, but it's not a joke though, is it? It's actually really offensive. And I used to do it myself years ago when I was going through a spout of promiscuity um, throughout my childhood, should I say, for my teens and stuff. And everything that I used to say would always be some kind of sexual conversation. If you did that now, you'd probably be in trouble, wouldn't you? So yeah, it's a big thing using words. to formulate friendship, sexual content to formulate friendship. It's the friendship that you want first and foremost. Anything from that is well, that's viewers discretion in it. But when people that you say are going to be friends, when they cross that margin and use sexual explicit content and then say it's only a joke, I am actually really appalled and quite disgusted. It actually degrades me as a woman. It's belittling. Really? Go ahead, North.
I was gonna say,
Ooh.
depending on, yeah, I was gonna say, depending on who sort of eventually watches this, I've left some voice notes, should we say, in response to messages or certain emojis that get sent very quite randomly, whether it be via WhatsApp or whether it be via Messenger or some sort of, inboxing app, let's say. You don't hear from certain people for months, or you don't know this person, you've just befriended them on Facebook, for example, even, or the any of the other socials, and within, seconds of it being accepted, there's a bombardment of messages and texts and pictures and emojis and all sorts of weird things start coming through, and you're like, wow, would you just like to just say hello? Just really, the blowing of the kisses and all of the other things that you're doing, I find, little bit too necessary right now. And we've never had this type of conversation where it shows that I'm giving you this sort of interest. My Facebook profile is not a dating site. And just because I've accepted a friend request, it does not mean that I now want you and that we have to meet. And and we have to now have a full-blown conversation, other than find out who I am first, find out what I'm about. Don't just assume because I'm a woman and I'm on social media and I've got a few pictures on there, it means I'm advertising myself.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah. I'm going to read their comment. Um, yeah, it's going to read viewers' comment. Hiya, will comment. Have had and still have female friends. Do I look at them as sex objects? Of course not. They're friends, and that's total trust on both sides. They could undress, would look as if couldn't be avoided, but not see. Men who look at women as just their sex objects are sick in the head and are dangerous and will use force of all kinds, like mentally, to get to suit them. Very sad attitude, thinking they are entitled to a woman's body and they should be grateful. Know a married woman who, and there's missing the rest of the comments. So I don't know where the rest of the comments. All
I can
right,
see
thank
it.
you,
I can
viewer.
actually see it. Sorry, I can see it. It says, "No, a married woman who was told you will do what I want when I want, as you're bought and paid for by her so-called devoted, loving husband, who later forcefully did what he did to her several times, and sort of did other things to her. He just basically wasn't a very nice character, to say the least." But the comments there for people to read the wording. I just won't publicly put it out there.
I want. I'm going to put out a few things that I think may be of an issue to viewers if they do. My question is, although a lot of people on here have had trauma, I know that. My question to you is if you have ever been quite promiscuous in the past, do you know how to say to someone, can you please not speak to me like that, in that mannerism? Do you find that you, for me, I don't know what it is, whether it's because I don't like to hurt anyone's feelings, but sometimes I have to be sharp with my responses. And if I'm sharp with my responses, then it's battered back, isn't it? It's battered back. Oh, I was only joking. It's not a joke when you're talking about someone's body. It's not a joke when you're talking about their body parts. It's not a
No,
joke when you're degrading women and you're talking about jerking them like a chicken. And I'm sorry,
listen.
that's what I was watching earlier. That I thought was disgusting.
Yes, and I know we chuckled at it. It's because we have to make light of the situation.
That's
Otherwise,
nerds. because I'm trying to
Yeah,
hold down my temper
exactly.
in seeing what I
But
saw.
what I wanted to sort of reiterate and sort of relate it to is that I'm not sure if anybody's heard the story of the artist, like a grime artist who was at an award show and thought that he would greet a female artist who was also performing, and he walked up to her and grabbed her cleavage, her bosom, as a form of hello, and then he did exactly what you said. I'm a flirt. You know what I mean? Don't take it like that. It was just a hello. But at no point have they had any form of conversation where nobody's ever greeted her like that before that he's seen. So what made him think in his mind that that was anywhere near normal in a celebrity, arena with other artists, managers, people around that are looking at her now, going to judge her. So does she react and be judged, or does she not react and be judged? But nobody's judging him. Nobody pulled him to one side and says, "Oi, oi, mate. How would you like it if random woman just walked up to you and grabbed your groin as a way of saying hello?" Now, unfortunately, some men might like that, and there are some men who are not going to like that type of greeting. But it's deemed that the percentages is that men will not correct each other's behavior in a public environment or disassociate themselves from that so-called friend and say, "I don't want to be associated with a man who can greet a woman like that. So it's either you fix up for it or you can't be in this circle no more." We can't. That's borderline abuse. You can get done for that. You can't just walk up to randoms and touch them.
You've pulled me back to a trigger, a memory for me in my past, and it's pulled me back to this guy that I remember that was forcefully on top of myself one time, um, and I threatened him with my brother. That was the only reason he left. Now, years later, because I consider that as he would have taken what he wanted. Now, I had been a little bit intoxicated also. So all of these things back in the past are a journey, a journey which I suppose now so somebody else can see or recognize or protect themselves. Now, the problem that I had with this person is that I saw him years later, many, many, many years later, and he touched my backside, but he didn't remember me, you see. But he touched my backside. So as an adult, him touching my backside, it was a big trigger. So that trigger ended up, I'm going to have to teach him a lesson. So with my hand, I grabbed his crotch as hard as I could. And I said, "Do you effing like it?" You know, because it's not polite to maul me like a piece of meat. How do you like it? And I was literally grabbing onto his balls with dear life, and I said, "How do you like it?" Because at the end of the day, when people touch your backside like that, I'm sorry, it is a sexual nature. You don't get to do that. You don't get to slap people on their backside either. And that was many, many years ago. And then he said to me, "Why did I do that?" I said, "Did you not remember that? You forcefully put yourself on top of myself. Did you not remember that?" "No, I don't remember." But I do remember it, you see. Isn't it funny how people back in the past can't remember their uh, sexual innuendos to somebody? They're willing to just do whatever they got to do to get whatever they want to do at that time. But years later down the line, they don't remember that person that they hurt. And
I mean, I
for
can
me, it was
relate.
a big trigger.
Yeah, I mean, mine wasn't so serious, admittedly. Like when I was at primary school, for example, there was a little boy who used to sort of run around and say inappropriate things, and we were only like 5 or 6 at this time. So I'd go home and say, what was happening at school. So it was just bullying, but it was a level of bullying and the language that was just a bit extreme for someone of that age. So I was eventually taken out of the school. And I remember, years later, like a good 10, 12 years later, I was working in retail in a certain chain store, should we say, and, he bops in. And, when you just remember every crevice of somebody's face, like they hadn't changed, it doesn't matter the fact that it was, 10, 15 years later, we both looked exactly the same. We haven't changed from when we were, and he recognized me and I recognized him. And admittedly, he stood there, all 6 foot change of him, and I'm not that big, in that respect. So I actually felt a little bit intimidated at the time, but he did this big cheesy grin and apologized. And like he remembered the trauma that he potentially, like, I left the school, mate. Like, what more of an indication did you need that you were a problem child? Not me, you. But the fact that he apologized years later, it hadn't really bothered me. Once I left the school, I got over it. I was pretty young, so I had a lot of experience between that and meeting him again. So, but it was just an interesting experience that I could then sort of say to him, "Oh, you've obviously grown and matured, and you've acknowledged and you've remembered." And it helped me heal, even though I probably didn't realize that there was a pain there to begin with. But that wound kind of then went away now. That bit of hurt, that bit of bullying was a chapter closed to a set. And then I wondered whether he had daughters and sisters and things where maybe that's changed his perception and the way he's treated women in his past and things he'd learned. So I know that there's hope for all of us in that respect. I've been promiscuous. I've done things with myself that I've kind of gone, oh, that was a bit silly, but I've got to an age now. And I think that's the difference, because I've heard things in the past where people say, oh, you make the same decisions when you're 18, 19, 20, 25 that you do when you're 40, 50, 55. And like, hell no. No, I'm sorry. I totally disagree with that statement. I am not making the same decisions in regards to my sleeping partners when I'm 18, 30, 40 or 50 or 60 years later. Because back then it was about having fun, getting your leg over. And then for women, it's a hormonal thing. You think about having children. So therefore, your intentions of sleeping with men changes, because you're sleeping with them in order to have babies. Men don't have these sort of visual hormonal changes. They go through their own menopause, they go through their own midlife crisis. They can make children until they die. Yeah, they never run out of sperm. Women run out of eggs. All right, so there's a period of our lifespan where we don't just frivolously sleep around with men, because we're looking at men as fathers to our children. So we are not thinking the same when we are 18, 19, 25, 30, 40, 55, because by that time we've hit the menopause. So men are no longer being looked at as fatherly figures. They're
They're
being
on
looked
pause.
at, sorry, yeah, they're on pause, but now it's about companionship, because they're also going through a change once they get to 45 and 50 and they're granddads, and they're not thinking about being dads anymore. There's a different level of freedom and responsibility that we do take on as we get older. So I don't want anyone to, and that's why I became a mentor, because I don't want a young girl at 15, 16 to regret the decisions she's made, like myself, because someone didn't point blank tell her the decisions you're making today will be totally different later on in life. But let me guide you away of some of something, maybe the badder experiences, in regards to just respect your body. Yeah, you don't have to think that you're mature because you're having sex. Intercourse is not proving a level of maturity. It doesn't mean you're an adult. Okay. And that's why I became a mentor, is order to explain to girls, especially, do not use your body as a weapon. Do not use your body to get what you want in life, but then also do not allow anybody else to use your body for what they want in life.
I, you know what? I see a lot of single women. Um, just before I go to the single women, I want to point out that I know I was talking about that trigger and that man for myself. I want to say that since that point, I did speak to him and I did say, well, that's what I remember. I'm sorry that you don't remember it, but that's what I remember. He could only apologize. How do I feel? Good that I talked about it. I feel when you air off something about somebody, what they've done, I feel good that I spoke about it and laid it to rest. Now I don't feel so horrible. I feel like I could be normal now and just leave that to rest. But there is a question that I'm going to ask. How long should you hold a grudge on someone for when they've done something wrong in the past when you're younger? How long should that grudge be for? Because as when we're younger, we're just on that journey, but when we're older, people say, "Oh, I made mistakes." They're not mistakes, are they? In your past, it's a journey then. But when you look back, it's made wrong some poor decisions. I'd use as poor decisions. That's the word that I would use. Um, and I made some pretty poor decisions in the past. But where I am now, pushing the over 50s. Yeah, it's not even funny, is it? So pushing the over 50s, relationships now, I think for people that I know around me, very many people that I know around me, they're getting to the point now. I think when you've gone through the mill, is trust is an issue, isn't it? What is the person, the opposite sex or the partner that you're with? What is their intentions? What is their expectations? Are you going to be in a relationship, and where's that relationship going to go? Is it? And this is the problem. I heard somebody on the train once, and they said to me, "Oh, I'm going to go meet such and such." Yeah, I've only been together with them 2 months, and my kids are going to meet his kids, and his kids are going to meet my kids, and all of a sudden she's playing happy ever after before she even knows him. And I think it is expectation when you get a certain age. It is the expectation. What are you looking for? Because when you reach half a century, do you really want to go and do it all over again? I've been married 3 times. Would you want to go and do it again?
All
Would you
right,
want to
so
go live with
I'll give
somebody?
you I'll give you the sort of opinion of someone who doesn't have children, okay? And most of the men I've dated, in fact, if I was to think long and hard enough, probably all of the men I've dated have all had at least one child. Okay, so therefore I have to then consider my intention with that man, and depending on the age of the child, will determine again an intention. So there are men who have had children under the age of 16, for example, where we've been dating, and after a few months they might say, "Oh, you're really nice," or "My son's heard me speaking to you on the phone," or "My daughter," or whatever, my
Yeah,
child,
that one.
yeah, heard me speaking and you sound really nice. Do you want to say hello? And I'm like, no, I actually don't. And they're like, oh, they actually, again, are quite offended by my very snappy coldness boundary about it. And it's purely because I don't just want to flit into a child's life, yeah, and then flit out again. So, regardless of what happens between me and you, the children that I have bonded with through my relationships, I intend to be around them forever in their life, regardless of what happens to me and you as a couple. So, for example, met a man many moons ago, I think like 99, 2000. We were together many years. I met his child. 10 years old at the time, now 24. We still talk occasionally. She still calls me mum. She still appreciates the time that I gave her when I was with her dad. She still appreciates the relationship I had when I was with her dad. But again, there was a boundary. I always reminded her that she had her own mum. Her mum was still alive. I will be your friend forever, but I can't guarantee that me and your dad will be friends forever. Now, we did part ways amicably, and RIP, because he's no longer with us. So at least I can say in my heart of hearts that me and him had a wonderful relationship. We parted because we were in different places, but I still have his memory and his legacy of his child, occasionally texting me and phoning me and appreciating who I was as a person. So I've got the best of both worlds. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to involve myself with every child, of the partner that I've been with, because there have been some where they've, left their child at home to come and visit me, for example. And I'm like, you have done what? You've left your children at home or your child at home to come and see me. Is there another adult there? Is there supervision? Like now I'm in panic mode. So now, whatever you thought was going to happen while you're here is not happening, because I'm sending you on your heels straight back through the door to go and be with your children. This is your weekend with them, or your, whatever time with them. Mean you've got other days of the week for you to do this. I'm not, or should I say, my crutches is not that important right now. Your children are important. So please have a bit of respect for yourself, for me, and your children, and exit.
Yeah, I think. That is a lesson. Um, excuse me. That is a lesson I think I'd like viewers to take into consideration. That if you are, because we have been on lockdown, the pubs are open again now, you know, so drink's going to be playing a part, and again, people are going to be like they're on heat, right? So the fact of they do need to consider the children first and foremost. If you're going to date someone or see someone, leave the children out of it. I always think set yourself a challenge, and how long set yourself a challenge. You know, this is how I look at it: is if you're a single parent out there or parent out there, set yourself a challenge. If you're going on the dating, you know, don't invite the opposite person to meet your children for a very long time. A year, 2 years, set that goal. I'd at least make that over that. I mean, people like to use their children as a barter chip, or actually to entice you. Hey, look at me, I'm a good mother. I can do good, I could be a good mother to your children, etc., vice versa. Stepchildren are not looking for a replacement. Okay, they're looking for role models. Now, if you're going to be easy and jump into bed with somebody straight away and get up involved in their children, you're not setting that sample to those children, particularly if they're females or males, that, dad's got a new girlfriend or mum's got a new boyfriend or whatever else, and all of a sudden they're jumping into bed, and vice versa, and goes on and goes on. Why give the children a chance of way, you know, bond with those children, be with those children. But when you're dating somebody else and they've got children, have respect for them children and the fathers, the outside fathers, and maybe they are single parents that don't have any children. Any one side of the parent is missing. You can't replace that father figure. You can't do that. It's about respect at the end of the day. But I certainly think that I made some poor judgments in my past. And I think when you are a victim in the past of some trauma, and I use the word sexual trauma, it does play a big part of how you formulate other relationships and how needy you are to be loved. Because I mean, the old saying is, I just wanted to be loved. This is why I end up people being promiscuous all the time. They just want to be loved, except for what they're looking for is just that satisfactory. I just want a companionship more than, and they'll define it by the way, love, but it's a companionship, and it's stability, and it's security, and it's, for me, I think when you're looking for the relationship, what you want to do is be looking for somebody who's got the same things, the same sort of things in common, the same aims, but somebody who can help you get further than where you've been. It's about building up, not staying in a relationship. And that's going to be Little House on the Prairie. I don't know if anybody ever watched that, but it isn't it isn't the way we were taught. Watch a movie, get married, have the children, get the dog, get the house. That is just not the way of the world. I mean, if you're lucky, some people can have that long-term relationship, and there'll be no other, just like swans. But at the end of the day, some people have to kiss a lot of frogs before they find the right person. But I think that stems within, about confidence. What do you think, North?
All right. Admittedly, I'm at a stage in my life where I've technically been single or not in a serious committed relationship going on nearly 8.5, 9 years. So I've dated, I've had intimate relationships, for want of, what I mean, in that respect. And the conversations I've had with those people is clearly shown me that neither of us is prepared to settle or go through what we went through ever again, because there've obviously been some bad experiences on both sides. So I don't live locally to some of the people that I've experienced relationships with, or I call it bumping hips, because that's kind of all we were doing, really and truly. We didn't really go out anywhere a lot of the time. We would be indoors, and what we would be doing, do you know what I mean? Simple as. And that's when I realized that, number one, I had no value or no presence in this particular man's life. Why did we not go out? Why did you only come round to do what we did? Why did I allow you to just do that for so long? And then when I questioned him on this sort of behavior, this learned behavior, this comfortability, I never heard from him again. Literally from that phone call, it was like, yeah, I'll speak to you later. And that was 2016. I've actually not heard from him. Do you know what I mean? Like, we met at work, and then, you know, we knocked around together for nearly 3 years, and I felt like it was a waste of my time. I really did, because at no point did I put pressure on him to settle down, move in, do certain things. And then when I saw it, he said that he used the L word, or I love you, and all that. Well, I thought, well, I'll give it 18 months after we've said that to kind of see, well, where this is going. You know, because I'm not going to put the L word out there just for the sake of making someone feel comfortable, because if it's not going anywhere, then it's just a waste of words, isn't it? Just a waste of time in general. And then quite recently, I met someone at Carnival. I was very confident, you know, kind of let them know straight away, you know, what I liked about them. We started seeing each other, you know, August this year will be kind of 4 years that we've been engaging in conversation and a little bit more. However, I noticed in the beginning, we were like rabbits. Year two, we were a little bit more like sheep. You know, year three, a bit more like lions. And then year four, we're kind of like
Elephant.
elephants. Yeah.
Did you call it?
Elephants. Because, you know, we're not doing it as often, it's few and far between, but we still kind of talk on WhatsApp, we still have the occasional voice conversation. However, I'm building certain elements of my life, he's building certain elements of his life, and we're not sort of, we don't want to compromise on our singleness. And it's, again, it's a matter of trust. He needs to trust that I'm not sleeping with anybody else. I need to trust perhaps that he's not sleeping with anybody else. And as long as we're both comfortable with that setup and we're both being truthful, then technically we're both kind of happy.
How the
But there
hell
are,
would you know? How the hell would you know if you don't see the person for 4 years? How the
no,
hell?
but no, I'm saying not this person for 4 years. That person's gone, but the person I've been seeing for 4 years, like, I've not seen him now for 8, 9 months. Like, for example, we had sex twice last year in 2019, and he openly, clearly, without questioning what I said or asking, having to ask, he says, I'm not sleeping with anybody else. So I'm going to take it. You're a 40-odd-year-old man, nearly 50-odd. You are going to say what you need to say. Right. So even if he had said he slept with anybody else, it's a matter of then just safety and protection. My reaction is not going to be, oh my God, what have you done? Da, 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 this, that, and kick off and start kind of like an absolute lunatic. It will be from that point onwards, you can continue sleeping with them. You are no longer sleeping with me. That's it. It's
But
it's not a,
that's if you found out, and if you didn't find out,
well, I
and
don't need to find out, because if you're being
exactly.
transparent and you should know, be upfront, we've had this conversation, we are both adults. There is no need for you to lie. Living in a lie is worse than the repercussions of the truth for
Well, it
both
isn't.
parties
Yeah,
involved.
but some people say, "Well, in life, I don't tell you about it." See, that's where the conscience can go in it. They always free their conscience by saying, "Well, if I didn't tell, it's not a lie if you don't know about it."
No, but from if we've had a conversation and we've both put our cards on the table from day one, there has been no need to lie in the beginning. There's no need to lie now.
That's, but again, you see, you can only ever be in control of your own destination when you see. I always say you can't trust somebody as far as the eye can't see them. Yeah, you know, when you can see them around and they're in your presence,
No, I'm sorry
you're
to interject,
safe.
but I've lived with men who have cheated with me, and I've lived with them for years, okay? And they've been cheating under my nose, all right?
Mhm.
So it's, for me, it's not a matter of if they're under your nose or if you can see them, then they're doing, no, they're not. They're
No,
not
what
always.
I meant to say
Unless
is,
you're with that person 24 hours a day, as soon as they've got that opportunity to go out, a cheat is a cheat. If that's their intention, that's what they're going to do.
yep. What I'm saying is, you're only responsible for yourself, so you only know your own actions. You can only say, you know what, I'm a faithful person, whatsoever. But you can say that. You can never be in control of the other person.
No, I'm not. No,
You
oh,
need
I
to say
definitely
the
agree
law.
there. No, like anybody with any sense of logic would know they're not in control of anybody's thought, emotion, feelings, actions. But like I said, on a spiritual level, again, you know, the type of conversation that you have with these potential partners or these people that you're seeing, there has to be different levels of conversation before you open up your vagina, let's say, in
So
order.
let me ask you something then. Let me ask you something, right? Because I'm honing in on this long distance thing, this not so frequent situation that's going on here. But let me ask you this question: why hasn't he put you? Wasn't he seeing you? Yeah, you've had this arrangement, but at the end of the day, aren't you worth more than that arrangement? Aren't you a queen? Aren't you worth that? Because I always say when I teach these young girls, yeah, they like to
Yeah.
give away their coochie too much, yeah. Um,
Right, so don't think that me and this man just see each other and sleep with each other in the 4 years. Me and him have gone out in public. Me and him have dated. You did see what I'm saying? So it's not just bumping hips. But in all honesty, he's good at what he does, and it I'm not affected emotionally by it. He's not hurting me. And if he is lying, then he's only hurting himself because I've been upfront. And if he wants more, then say if you want more. And if you're comfortable with the situation, which he appears to be to a certain extent, let's say, but he has vocalized when he is lonely, for example. He
I
has
do
asked if now I am, definitely. I did have a moment during the 4 years, or so 3.5 years, where there were things happening in my life, that I said things to him and I put certain things on the line and was very upfront about what I was going through that put him a little bit off a little bit. But then he saw the journey, he's seen the vision, he knows where I am in life now, where I'm going. And he's actually kind of like, with my blessing, Leisha, please fulfill your business, your dreams, and kind of do building your self development, because he's also doing the same thing. So
yeah,
that's why. Mm,
yeah, but it's sad. Can I be pointing out? I feel quite sad about your situation, if I'm honest. Um, and I feel that, yeah, you could have female friends, yeah, you can have male friends, but the one person that you're being intimate with, the one person that you should be able to share deep conversations with, I feel it's just an arrangement.
no,
That sorry,
see, that's the thing. Yeah, like, because I've not disclosed the depth of the conversations me and him have had, I wouldn't want you to think they're like a puddle. All right, in regards to how we have shared our emotions and our feelings about where we are in life. So there must be, like, logically, if from an outside, if a fly was on the wall listening to the conversation, if we're both being honest, transparent, and true with what it is we're saying to each other, and we both are in agreement with what's being said. There's no disagreement. It's not like, oh, hang on a minute. No, no, no. No, it wasn't. So we both know that we're in a place in our life, like I said, where we've been dealing with a spiritual self-development, a business, entrepreneurship. He was studying, I'm doing certain levels of studying and developing business. So we know that we don't have time, as in physical hours in the week, month per se, that we want to sacrifice just for the sake of our seeing each other at this moment. All right. The lockdown has obviously made our distance longer, or our period of time seeing each other longer. But like I said, there has been levels of conversation that, albeit brief or whatever it is, we have a good friendship, which is why we're able to maintain what it is we're doing. And neither party feels bad. Because if
so
he did, he would tell me.
would you call this terminology kind of booty call? No.
Um, no, it's more than that, because we can pick up the phone and talk, and we can actually meet and not have intercourse. So we don't just meet to have sex. So it's not a booty call. It's the fact that that's the bonus that I feel
The
like I've got
friends
a
with
friend.
benefits then.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I feel like I've actually got a friend who I can confide in, who I can go out with, who I can party with, who isn't looking for me to cook, clean, or pick up or nothing behind them. And we enjoy each other's company. I actually feel like it's one of the healthiest relationships that I've had, looking at my past history relationships, where there's been lies and deceit and people are hiding feelings, there's been jealousy and insecurities. Whereas I don't feel any of those things from that man. And even when he speaks to me and he might see a picture on Instagram, or one of his friends might say, I'm following your friend on Facebook and she's really funny or whatever. He doesn't phone me and say, take that picture down, or stop dressing like that, or stop doing that. He actually appreciates the different elements of my personality because he knows I'm not a cheat. And that's what I'm not disloyal. If I had an interest in another man and I was potentially dating or seeing or talking to, and I felt like it was going somewhere leading to intercourse, I would phone my bread and say to him, "Here, what now? I've been speaking to so and so. You know the coup. Where are we going?" And I'm going to give him an option. I will, because I do like him. I'm not just going to cut him off, but I'm not going to sort of just open myself up to talking to somebody else and getting all caught up in feelings and that, because it's just he's a decent man and a good friend.
If you are not in a relationship, okay, if you're not in a relationship and you do not have any commitments to this person, why do you feel the need to phone him up and say, "Hello, I've got Patrick
Because
in"? Hold on,
because that's
hold
the
on a minute.
agreement that we have made.
I know it's an agreement, but move on years later, okay? Because it seems to me that somewhere along the line, I know it's an agreement, but just pulling back a little bit, why do you feel the need to say, "Hello, hi, Patrick's in line. He wants to know if he can go out with me, but I want to know where me and
No,
you
no,
are."
I didn't say if he could go out with me. I didn't say that. That's not what it is. Like I said, if there was an actual emotional interest, investment into that person I was potentially now talking to, I feel that is actually respectful to let the person that I've been sleeping with know that I don't want to, this isn't going to happen anymore. I've met somebody, we started talking, I've been out on a few dates with that person. I don't have to announce what it is that I'm doing. But if that's what it is, go on,
Well, I thought
sorry.
you were going to be asking permission first,
No,
and
no, 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 no. I didn't use that word. There is no asking permission.
okay, I'm. Can I just, if you're comfortable with the arrangements that you've done and you've been in and you're happy with this, I just wonder where it leaves somebody if that when they hear this about your journey and where you are in your life. I just wonder where, you know, do you know what? Somewhere along the line, right, the way I look at it is I feel this is a sad situation. This is just my personal opinion. You may be comfortable with it, but as a female listening to it, I feel somewhere along the line, sorry, that you are devalued. And that is just where I feel. This is my point of view. For a man to just allow you to just slip away. If you're a queen and you're a queen, you should be attached. Now, sorry, along the line, he could be helping you progress in your. We're not here to get in relationships and keep people dormant and stale. When you get into relationships, they're supposed to help you, friendship or not help, friend or foe, boost you up, show you, push you out, be there.
Right. Okay.
Not
Sorry to
replace
interject,
it.
but what part of my conversation have you heard me say that he's not supportive or he's holding
I
me back?
hear, I've heard, I hear quite a few things within your conversation. One of which you you're kind of, it seems like there's a condition. Just what I'm taking from it are based on, well, I do kind of like him, you said. So there's a bit of a condition. That's where what I feel here, because
No, no, I think that is for the first time in my actual adult life, I'm being honest with how I feel about somebody rather than settling because I was devaluing myself because of my situation. So if you want me to go deeper, right, I'll take it there, yeah? Let's do candid real
we've got
talk.
2 minutes.
Well, it might cut off, it might not, if necessary, we'll come back. But the fact of the matter is that, like I said earlier, when you're as a woman and you are trying to look for a potential father, yeah, you're thinking differently. Now, my situation was is that it wasn't easy to conceive. So the doctor said, keep trying. So I took that as not like just keep trying with the same man, try a few times with a few different men. All
Yeah.
right. So I've now got to a stage in my life where the man that I'm choosing to share that part of my body with actually respects that part of my body because he respects himself. I don't have to feel guilty that I can't perform and do certain things anymore. That's what I'm saying. The level of conversation me and this man have actually had. Do you not think that if he was unhappy with me as an individual, he wouldn't have got involved to begin with because he had that option? We had that conversation from the beginning. I wanted to put certain things on the line. I was not devaluing myself. It was the first time I was actually standing up and speaking out for myself and not feeling guilty or feeling the repercussions and someone saying to me that you're a barren bitch, which is what I've been called by men before. And these so-called men love me. So I've got someone who's not even using the L word, but is showing me more love, consideration, support, and carry on with your dream, baby girl, lovely woman, because you've been striving for what it is you're doing for so long, and I'm proud of you. And if
Well,
I'm part of kind of being part of your light sometimes, and we're both all right with that, and I'm part of his light, then like I said, I feel like it's healthy.
well, you know, as long as you're happy with the way uh, this is going, then that's your choice.
And
Now,
who's to say you might have to get your hat out in another 4 years if you pops the bloody question, because things have progressed in that way because we've left a level of comfort and transparency. Do you see what I'm saying? It can go either which way. It's just a matter of we're both doing on a self-development course. We're both loving self so much. We're only prepared to share a little bit of that with someone who's also loving themselves on the same level. I'm giving as much as I'm getting, and he's getting as much as he's giving. So
but
therefore,
it's
it's
sex.
fair, eh?
It's sex.
It's not. I told you there was conversation. We've gone
I
out. It's
know,
more
well,
than
of
just,
course there's going to be a conversation, but really, you see that, of course, there's going to be a conversation, but you know, I think there's
it
more.
doesn't all, but that's what I'm saying. Our conversations or our interactions don't always lead to sex. So it's not just about sex.
Well, I should hope so that you have the conversation.
Well, yeah, do you like it, baby, or do you want it that way? Yeah, I mean, I'm only kidding, but I'm just saying, like I said, on a, but on a spiritual level, like, you must admit, like, for me as an individual, you know who it is that I am behind this name and that sort of thing in that respect, yeah. So you know, the level of spirituality I have. You know that like I said, I work with young girls, and I want to be able to be confident in regards to saying that I'm in a healthy minded, spiritually physical relationship. They believe in cleanliness like myself. They believe in respecting their body like themselves. They know about honesty. They've been hurt. They're healing. They're on a self-development journey. And that can only be a beautiful thing to see in a black man, because not all of them are on that journey. So therefore, all of the other crap that I've dealt with before that was stifling, no matter how good looking they were, no matter how much they said they love me, like I said, this is healthy for us to not have to use words like that and put ourselves in boxes,
I,
yeah,
I,
and then feel
I agree.
uncomfortable.
I agree on the on this label love, because I mean the amount of relationships, how many people, I mean, I have to say this to viewers, how many, think about it, think about it, think about it, how many people over the years have you ever said that you loved over the years? See, when I look back now where I am now, I might have told this person I loved them, love you, love you, love you, love you, and then I realized now as I got older that's not an easy word to say anymore for me. And I realized that you might have liked something about those individuals or fell in love with some part of them, but you're not fully in love with them as a whole because you've got complaints about them. So loving something, or to love yourself more than anything, that's for sure. But when you love yourself more, I think you appreciate the world a little bit more, and you got more of respect for yourself and your boundaries and your barriers. But when you use that word so freely, I love you, why is it then we don't want to use it when we're angry? You see, that's the question. When you're angry, you don't want to use that word, I love you, yet love is supposed to be unconditional. I could go on all night, but you know what? I'm going to cut it here because I know that some of you like probably want to go to bed. And if you've got a question, ask a question. Thank you for watching, and I really do appreciate your time. Share it out because this is the only way we're talking, raising awareness. It's only food for thought. You do not have to do anything that we do or say. My point is, if you're dealing with women or men, try not to make your conversation sexual. They're just on a friendly level with them because it's degrading. Treat date, treat people with treat people with respect. But most of all, make sure that you have that respect for yourself. If you are dating and you're gonna date, perhaps at the end of the day, North will reel off a few things of what we could look out for. If you're gonna date, you're gonna date safe sex. Yes, say sex. Don't men don't actually listen to a woman when a woman says, "Oh, I'm on the pill." Don't always listen to that, because at the end of the day, I know how women can be tricksters. I'm not mean saying all women can be tricksters, and like we said, when we're nesters, and when we need to nest, some women will stop at nothing to nest, and it's no disrespect from a man. It's just human instincts to nest, and it's just, I remember that. I remember those days myself, wanting to just get pregnant. I don't care who it was. I just wanted to get pregnant. Don't know why. It's just one of those nesting phases that you go through, and then all of a sudden you end up pregnant. And no, man, single mother. I'm sure there's a lot of single mothers and single parents out there. And as we fall into those categories, that's somewhere where we have to. You're right. Clear boundaries are really important. Let's have those respect for these children. Give them a chance to grow, because what they're doing when you bring other people into the relationships, when you're dating people, is that those children are taking the personalities, they're forming personalities off the people that they're seeing around you. So give them a chance to grow, because all of this I love you, and then you break up with them and look for another person next couple of months down the line. I love you again. When you keep bringing these men into these, or men or women into these children's lives, it's not right. You're not setting a good example. Date, yeah, set those boundaries up for yourself. And you know what, North, I really respect the fact that you're honest about your feelings, what people can take from this is up to them. Me, I just wish that you know, my thing is, I hope that one day you have a king who ain't gonna leave and let you have all of this time out there, you know, feeling. I'm not saying you're feeling lonely, but there are times where I think you could deserve a great big cuddle when you need it, not wait down the line until they've cleared their diary.
Yeah, I get that. I'll be honest, but I'm not 100% like cuddling type anyway. So that's probably why I'm sort of so comfortable, like living how I'm living and doing what it is that I'm doing. Is that,
Yeah,
you know, I'm just not that feminine, tactile energy, really. I'm a loving, nurturing person. I wanted to be a teacher. I'm great with children and that sort of thing. Children do like me. And this is the problem why I've kind of stayed away from the children of the men that I've been dating, in the past, because I naturally gravitate to that sort of take care of your man, take care of his child, happy home role. And no, that's the woman I've always been. That's what my mum taught me. Do you know what I mean? It's learned behavior. It's what the females in my family have taught me, that, some men say happy wife, happy life. But in our kind of women's circle, it's kind of been kind of, that song Cater to You, by those three women that sang that song, that they want to cater to men and run your bath and rub your feet and do all of this stuff. And I must admit, I do that stuff when I want to, but I don't want someone to have an expectation that because they've had a hard day at work, that certain things are going to be done around
yeah,
the home, because I'm out here building the empire.
yes,
So,
like
you
Karen
know,
White. I could
right, and that's basically what it is, because I'm on that journey of kind of, independence, not independence, self-sufficiency. That's what it is I want to leave on this final note. Yeah. I was left in a huge amount of debt, all right, because of a relationship. And I worked myself into the ground
Mm.
trying to pay this debt off that someone had helped me accumulate. And this is the first time in my years of existence that I've managed to get away from the job, the just over broke, as I call it. Yeah. Believe in myself and my own abilities. Yeah. And create an income for myself so I can have a lifestyle as I get older that is not costing me the earth. My debt would be paid off. I'll be able to go on cruises, but it was me that did it. I'm not going to allow another man to step into my life and say he kind of helped me do something and then think he can take it back and leave me in where I'm up shit creek without a paddle, homeless, in debt, all the crap, diseases, you name it, they've left me and left me in certain situations. So I'm just not prepared to put myself in that position for the rest of my life. So that's where I'm at. And that's why I'm happy with my current setup, because my personal life and my empire building is so much more important than anybody's penis.
You heard it. You heard it. You know what? I think on reflection, going back, every time you say a word, it's going pound, pound. I was bring back all these old memories back in my head. And I think on a final note, I think, gosh, there's some topics in there that I'd like to discuss: relationships, dating, all of it, stepchildren, how many times you get married, all of those things. We could talk about those things all day long. But look, um, we will be doing a lot more talks, a lot more open talks, and invisible illnesses and relationships. What do we mean by invisible illnesses? Hey, look at me. Did you know I had one? Well, yeah, I only the way I talk. They call me a nut, but still, at the end of the day, on the serious side of it, open talk, that's what we're doing. We're actually bringing things to light, and I hope somebody resonates with some of the things that I've said here, make that they can reflect on maybe their own life or past life and pass on some knowledge and wise words. But just trying to sort of say, you know what, we've got these. Just going to say that today, as from the 6th of, sorry, yesterday, as from the 6th of July, I became officially another grandma, a little baby girl, 8 pound 4 ounces. Yeah, wow. So my granddaughter, I would not want her to have chauvinistic pigs for someone today. She will be highly informed of the awareness and what to look out for, and to make sure that she respects her body first and foremost, and respect her mind. So yeah, we can only teach by our past experiences. We can only give it knowledge by our past experiences. My past experiences, people would. I don't know if about you, but I did a TikTok once. It says I was a hoe. Not long ago, I was a hoe. I told you so. You're right, and that's what it was. Basically, all these people that used to say bad things about me. Do you know what? If you'd only known what kind of past we had, it would make sense why we would be promiscuous going forward, because we've been taught by men how to disrespect ourselves basically as we're growing up. If we didn't have the role models, and we didn't have, especially those that have been in and out care and care homes, if we didn't have those good role models and those good leaderships, then somewhere along the line someone got a bit of a bum deal about growing up. But some people are brought in a household with great leadership skills and great parenting skills, and do not argue in front of their kids, and keep certain things away from their kids, giving their children a chance to be children, to grow. But those that witnessed domestic violence, or those that have experienced abuse or mental abuse, will have difficulties in forming relationships. But when they get to a stage in life where they've just had enough, and you think, "Oh, you know what, I'm going to be single again, who's next in line?" That barrier gets to the point where, you know what, I can't be bothered with that. That's just a headache. Although people want to be loved, they were just a bit like you, North. You want some companionship, but the strings that come with that companionship. I think when you get over 50 and above, somewhere along the line, not necessarily want the strings that come with it. Just want a peaceful life, and someone that you could go out with on a date with, or something like that. So it's about level of understanding when you get to a certain level in your life. But if you can avoid all of those pitfalls at a young age, and date, respect, think about those children, and even if you're a grandparent, have the respect for those grandchildren as well. Bring in different men, because there's a lot of grandparents that do that. Bringing different men into the equation with their own grandchildren. Um, just going by past experiences. I'm only just saying I'm a changed woman. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I think of my body as a bit like an athlete now. Like they say, like certain people, like, they don't have, intercourse or intimacy before they're about to perform in a great fight or run a certain race, because that adrenaline, that extra power that you hold on to, and that's really important, that each time you have intercourse or each time you connect with someone, there's an energy that you are sharing. And for women who are the receptacle, is the word that I use, because men are the givers, women receive. We take on an energy. It never leaves us. We live with part of those men for forever and ever. Our energy and our soul know those men have been with us. So even if we try to forget physically the bad stuff or even the good stuff, our soul, our energy, our spirit, our frequency still recognizes that intercourse, that energy we shared with somebody else. And if it's a traumatic energy, then obviously it's not a good feeling. If it's a pleasurable energy, then you're more likely to remember it. Your body's going to remember those feelings. You're going to have past memories that are going to make you smile and chuckle, because that's the energy that you have shared, and the spirit and the soul you've shared with that person, that your muscle memory and your brain memory and your soul memory is remembering, and it feels good. And that's what makes us reach out for the next soul to fill that space again. So once you learn self-love, and this is probably the biggest thing that I want to shout about, the reason why I'm so comfortable with my so-called situationship, let's call it that, yeah, is because I have learned to love me so much. I know that I don't need to share myself with him to feel any form of self-worth. And when I do feel like sharing myself with him, is because I'm worthy of that experience.
without guilt.
Yes.
And that's the big thing, isn't it? The guilt. Mm.
I've got over a lot of my own personal guilt, my choices. I've called them regrets and all sorts of things. But once I learned that out of all of that, I was still the most important lesson. What did I learn? So again, the self-love discovery journey, pampering, taking myself out, dating myself, taking pictures in nice restaurants, eating the food that I like, doing the things that I like to do, is so important as individuals before you even consider getting yourself involved with somebody else. Know what you like and know what you don't like, so you don't go around hurt people, hurt people. Yeah, so heal from your hurt so you don't inflict it upon anybody else anymore.
Yeah. You know what? We will have to come back and do another, whether you want to carry on or not on the next one, but we'll come back and do another segment, because uh, I'd love to talk about those insecurities and the manipulation people can do just to hold on to someone at a later date. But I'm going to wrap this up right now, and I want to thank you for joining me tonight. And my trigger tonight was that's where it started. My trigger was watching a co-host downtrod a female presenter online, and I hated every minute of it. I hated every minute of it because it was degrading treatment. One of which I will email to the presenter, because I had to take the note. I had to take the telephone number that was fallen across, and I thought, well, let me have them in for an interview. Being as they so like to be in charge of females, I figured, well, I've been in charge most of my life until I found my voice to educate back the level of respect I feel that men and women should have for each other. I'm not going to make it one sided. It's a two-way journey when you're interacting with the opposite sex or the same sex or a friend. It doesn't matter. It's a two-way understanding, and yeah, equality. You'll say there ain't no equality in this role, male and female role. Yes, there is. It's about respect, and it's about boundaries. But most of all, what you do have to say is, don't bring your past baggage into the new horizon, because that's the problem that what a lot of people do is they bring their past baggage into the new relationship and say, yeah, but it's just like blah, blah, blah. No, I get it, because I've been I get it when you turn around and you have to say, oh, you it's reminding me of that such and such a person. We're not trying to say we want to identify you as exactly the same character. what happens is that when someone's doing something, it's obviously a trigger and it resembles somebody that's done something in the past. And those triggers, and if they're showing their face into the relationship you're in now, and it's a reminder of past issues, it has to be addressed. You have to talk about it. If no one's going to understand those triggers, then they're going to be the same. And yeah, if they're happening and you're feeling the triggers, and perhaps yourself, you're back into that abuse circle of abuse again. So for me, triggers, watch those triggers, watch the alarm bells, listen to your sixth sense that you have in your stomach sometimes, that sixth niggly vent, but also at the end of the day is watch your body language and about how you also can end up being possessive just because you're trying to keep yourself safe. So a lot of people do that in relationships, try to keep themselves safe, but they'll act in such a mannerism. They've been accustomed to it from previous relationships, but when they get into a different one, then not everyone's going to be the same on the same language. So it's finding those same love languages, same mutual understanding, same respect, and safe sex. Thanks, North. Any final words? I'll let you have the final word.
I was going to say blissful, love, and light.
Thanks.